Good morning, guys. Welcome to this Tuesday, September 9th. And we are looking at the market holding on to their gains. Yesterday, we managed to hold that support area. We talked about the lower end here, that 64.90s that held, and we traded up from that for a while. That it looked like they're going to take it out. But it held and it traded back up. And then the overnight, we actually extended to the upside. So a nice move to the upside. So at this point, actually going to start from the long side of the market. So that's kind of where we're going to start from today. Now, there's no news really to drive the market. We have a small business optimism index came out early on. It's a little bit better than expected. No big reaction on that number at all. So there's basically no new. We have a 3-year auction at 1. That's pretty much what's going on today. Tomorrow, though, we get PPI. Thursday, we get the CPI read. So we got maybe a little bit more action tomorrow and on Thursday. Right now, though, pretty much I would start off range bound. I would start off from a long side of the market. The ES is holding on to the gains, and I'm modestly optimistic. I mean, they've been grinding here for a while. I mean, you never know if something comes out on the weaker end of things or a piece of negative news or something like that. We can certainly see this whole thing reverse pretty hard. But I would wait for them to, before we start shifting any biases on a bigger picture, we're going to have to take out this low volume area at this 6440 to 50s. We had to take out that 6400 attractor. So those are two big spots to take out before we really have to shift any capital flow direction or anything like that. But right now, I would start off on the long side, given where we are, and let's see if the market's going to take us higher or they're going to back off down it towards this attractor at 6470. So initially, I'm looking to buy against that 65, this 6505 area and that 6490 area. So these two support areas, I'm going to buy against these two for rotations back up. Looking for short setup, excuse me, against the 6515, 6525s with a bit of caution. And it's since we are starting with a bias to the upside. So pretty much a straightforward approach to get started. We'll see. The good news, I think, was that they were able to hold the 6490 area yesterday and it's trading higher. So I think we have a good shot at taking this higher. I think the people started the balance was leaning towards more rate cuts and the softer Fed, better rate structure, and that's I think why everything held up like it did yesterday. So overall, starting off on the long side, looking to buy against that 65 or 5, 64, 60, 65, 65 or 5 and 64.90s for rotations back up. And on the short side, I'm not just looking for shorts against that 15 and a 25 to start with. After that, I'm probably going to stay on the long side. There could always be a short in there as you approach edges, but that would be as be less aggressive on taking those. No need to step in front of it hard on a short setup. You can just wait for it to run out of gas. A good example was yesterday towards the afternoon when it had like to run up, to retest, run first pop higher, retested, and then it a third retested before it actually started failing. So there's no rush to get short on the way up here. But on the long side, to get started. Now, I have to take out that 6490s. I'm going to be looking for rotation down to the 6470s at that attractor. Still looking to buy against the 80s, 70s, 55s, and 45s on the way down, but not just as aggressively at that point. So that's kind of the way I'm thinking about it to get started. Now, I'm thinking that they take out the 6490s. For whatever reason, I think the 6470 is going to be your attractor spot at that point. They can still run it down here and test the 55s and the 45s, these two areas. But at this point, that would be a pretty good sell-off day. So that could happen. I mean, yesterday we had this rundown on Friday. Yesterday was a little holding day on the upside. We can certainly see them running right back down again. But right now, we're starting from the long side, given where they are in the structure, and let's see if they take out that 6490s. That's when we start taking off the long bias, going back range bound, and looking for potential short setups on the way, or looking for potential, sorry, buying opportunities on the way down. But there could be short opportunities if they take out that 6490 early on. At that point, there could be a pretty good momentum to the downside. This would be the better short if you're trying to get short on the way down, if that starts happening. Trying to get short later on, that's going to be that it's more chasing it at that point. All right, so that's the ES to get started. Looking at the Nasdaq and the bonds, so bond market, they're up. They're holding on to their gains. They backed off a little bit in the overnight, but they're pretty much holding on to the 117s for now. And if they take out 170s, we can see them retrace this whole thing right back here to the 1620s or 1616s pretty quick. And so I would look for a short setup if that starts happening, a retracement trade all the way down here to that 20 area. But right now we had a pretty good move to the upside on the bonds. We've been all the way up here in capital flow, all the way up here to this attractor right there. And if that comes out and it starts trading above this, that could be a shift, a bigger shift. Right now we are in the move out of the middle to the upside. And as you can see, we're running straight up here towards this attractor. The quite big question is, are they going to be able to continue that, or are they going to run out of gas? But as you can see, it's 17 is the last one I'm going to look to buy against. If that comes out, I'm going to look for a retracement trade, two single A prints. If those two comes out, that confirms that we are heading lower at that point. That's what's happening. All right, so that's the bond market. Starting from the long side, we have a 3-year auction come out at 1. Not sure if that's going to have a huge impact or not. The shorter auction, the reason I mentioned them is because they're refinancing all the debt on short-term rates, on short-term paper right now, because Powell has been holding on to the rate structure. So any refinancing that on debt, which has refinanced, is happening at higher rates. So you just do use shorter-term paper until the long-term rates come down. All right, so that's bond market. On the NASDAQ, we are pretty much holding on to gains as well. They're up here against resistance, though, so it's not quite in any price discovery, that's for sure, but it's close. So it's 900 comes out, we will be back there in no time. So we'll see if they can get some momentum here going. Initially starting off on the long side, same as the ES. They're going to buy against support, the 23,800s, the 760s, onto the 720s for rotations back up again. So these are the 3 buying opportunities. Below the 720, you're going to stay on the take off the long bias and going back range bound. See if they can retrace any further. So that's the way I'm looking at the NASDAQ to get started. On the way up, looking for short opportunities against the 850s and 900s. And I would say that they take out that little low volume area here at 900s. Before that, we may be in good shape to run it up to the 930s or even higher. So we'll see. It could be one of those days we get a grind to the upside. But we are up against resistance, so we don't need much, or it could just be a day of profit taking, which knocks this right back down again. And you know how it goes. When it starts heading lower, if they take out these 3 support areas, down to the 720s, we could be in one of those elevator down kind of a day, and then you want to be on the short side of that. So watching that lower area, so 720 comes out early on, then we may try a short trade below that, see how far they want to run it. But we're still looking for buying opportunities on the way down, just not as aggressively at that point, right? So that's the NASDAQ to get started. Finally, oil and gold. So gold, new highs, they're still extending to the upside. They're pretty freaking crazy, guys. They're up to like 3,700 almost. So gold started they were down here at 3,400. They were $300 to the upside. And so far, they're not seen any significant retracement. You kind of had to watch the capital flow to get a good sense of how far they are taking this. But gold is definitely on the move. And always makes me concerned that they're moving like that. So there's something, someone is protecting themselves with gold. But you can see here how far they've taken it. They were starting all the way down here from that 3,400 level. The move started there back in the late August 25. So we're literally looking at like 2, maybe 3 weeks of action. And you can see how they are speaking, running this straight up. And that's going to come crashing down, I think. I'm not sure if it's, I think at one point, it's hard to say when they are overextending it, but at one point that thing is going to come crashing down. I don't think it's just a flat out repricing based on geopolitical events. But there is a geopolitical component to it. So it's we just have to see how things shake out on the political scene here in the world. Now and I think the Russia situation, Russia, China, India, and that Ukraine war is right now what is the sticking point. How that if they're going to have to go down the sanctions route, which it looks like they're going to have to. That turned out yeah, it looks like they're going to have to go down a different path right now. So they're going to buy weakness on gold against the 3680s, 3675s, 3670s. It starts trading below the session lows. I would start looking for that retracement trade. So fairly aggressive on shifting it. They're not, if they are backing off more than that 3670 level, I would just take off the long bias and look for a potential retracement heading south. Now they can head it down to 3650, a little attractor. You have one at 3630s, you have a big one at 3600. So we'll see if that starts happening, where they're going to go. Otherwise, I would just stay on the long side. I'm going to get long and see how far they can take it on the upside. See if they're still in the extension mode. Like yesterday's overnight, they were up here and then they just kept going. So that's kind of the dynamic right now. Move out of the middle. You do not want to fade those. And that's why we're not going to be aggressive on the short side. And then finally, oil. Kind of range bound, they're backing off the low, heading back up to 64. So I would just say oil is still very much range bound, just sitting in that range. Though they were down here for a while, they were down here for a while testing that lower edge, but they're heading back up towards the 63, 64s right now. Yesterday I thought they had a shot at retesting that low, but they didn't quite make it go out of it. They run it halfway down at to 60, 61, 90, 62. And that was it. No good retest of the low and heading higher. Now, unless they start taking out 63.10 and 63.30s, these two resistance areas, they can technically still, we can look at that as a reverse retest for another rotation down. So we're still looking for potential shorts again at 63.10 and 63.40s, but just not super aggressively. But those are the opportunities for shorts, I think, rotations back down. And if they start heading lower, again, then we're looking for that retest of that low and a failure to take it out for another move for a rotation back up again. I thought that was going to happen yesterday. The retest of that thing, that would have been a good setup for a reversal back to the mean, but it never happened. So at this point, they could technically still reverse retest that low or trade right back up towards that 64 attractor area. So that's oil to get started, starting off range bound. If anything, slight bias to the downside and see if they can reverse retest these areas for rotation down, but that's not very strong. So I would just see how it develops and look for one or the other of these two opportunities to potentially develop. All right, so back to the ES. And we're pretty much where we left it. So let's see how this whole day shakes out. Right now we are pretty much, so starting off, slight bias to the upside on both ES and NASDAQ. For the ES, watch that 64.90s. For the NASDAQ, watch that 23.720s. Those three come out early on, then we may have a problem. Otherwise, I would stay on the long side. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it there. So good trading, and I will see you back at 11:30 for the next update. Later, guys.